Hi, welcome to It's All Local, a new Milton Access television show. I'm your host, Marianne Kinsella. Just a little background on me. I moved here in 2011 with my husband who grew up in Milton. He wanted to move back, and I'm very happy he talked me into it. It's such a great small town and with very nice neighbors, lots to do, and extremely close to Boston. I thought it'd be great to have a show that explores the town, the residents, our employees, its history, and all Milton has to offer, including some really great restaurants. With that, I'd like to introduce our first guest, our very own Town Administrator, Nick Milano. Welcome to the show, and we're going to discuss all things local government. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Have you had how many restaurants have you eaten at in this town so far?
I have been to, I'd say, the bulk of them at this point. I don't think there's any I've missed.
Have you eaten at the new Mexican restaurant?
I have. We are very excited to have El Barrio in town.
I know. It's like we were missing a Mexican restaurant. I hear there's two opening up. So that's just great. So just to start, tell us how you came to be our town administrator, your background.
Sure. So I've worked in government since graduating college. Originally at the State House, I worked for a state rep for the neighborhood that I grew up in, Boston and West Roxbury, Rep Ed Coppinger. I spent some time at the Massachusetts School Building Authority, and then moved to the city of Marlborough, where I worked for the mayor of Marlborough for 4 years as his chief of staff. After that, I moved over to the town of Medfield as the assistant town administrator. And lastly, most recently landed here in Milton, starting in September of 22 as the town administrator. Have some ties to Milton. My wife grew up here. Nice. Her parents are still in town, so felt it was an opportunity to work in a community that I knew, I was close to. We still live in West Roxbury, so thought it was the right fit and a great opportunity. And I've been lucky to be here since then.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you here. So walk us through what the town administrator does. What's a typical day like for you? I remember when I was going in there, you were fielding a lot of phone calls before, so I was waiting to talk to you. Sure. So what's a typical day like, and what's your role? What do you do?
Well, I think what's great about local government is every day is going to be a little bit different. Mm-hmm. You can plan a day and then something will happen and you're pointed in a different direction and you're running from there. Big picture, I manage the town. The select board in Milton, their responsibility is setting policy. The town administrator's job is to execute that policy at the direction of the select board. On a day-to-day level, that means I appoint the employees, I appoint the department heads, I manage the budget setting process, oversee the budget, and directly oversee all the departments as the town administrator.
Oh, wow, that's a lot. So you report directly to the select board, is that correct?
Correct.
So how does you've described what the select board does. What does the planning board do and the warrant committee?
Sure.
Do? And then how do they interact with each other? And then we can get into, when the governor maybe passes a law, how they all work together. And
sure.
Who does what?
So in Massachusetts, there are different forms of local government that everybody has. Milton has select board, town administrator with a representative town meeting. So the select board sets the policy. Town meeting serves as the legislative body. In another community, that might be a city council. Mm-hmm. So that's the comparison there. The planning board works on local planning issues, works on zoning issues, and those kind of land use decisions, as well as master planning efforts for the town. The warrant committee is an interesting different committee that primarily responds to and makes a recommendation on all warrant articles that go to town meeting. So the first stop for a warrant article before it goes to town meeting is to get a recommendation from the warrant committee. Not every city and town in Massachusetts that has town meeting has a warrant committee. Mm-hmm. Some have what's called an advisory committee that serves a similar role. Others have finance committees. In Milton, the job of the warrant committee is twofold. They respond on all warrant articles, but they also have to respond on the budget. In other communities, sometimes they're separate entities. So they have a big job. Every March, they're very busy as we gear up for the annual town meeting.
Yep.
And then the boards interact. The select board, planning board will interact together related to potential new growth, potential new development. Anything that either board, whether the select board or the planning board, wants to see approved by town meeting has to go through the warrant committee first for a recommendation that's made to the town meeting. Ultimately, the town meeting, as a legislative body, can listen to the select board, to the planning board. They can hear the warrant committee's recommendation, but they make their mind up at the town meeting, and they can offer amendments, they can offer changes. but the recommendation that goes to town meeting is the warrant committees.
Oh, okay. And then once all the recommendations are made, we have the big town meeting. And when does that normally happen?
Sure. So the annual town meeting is the first Monday in May, and usually is a couple of nights. The last one was 5 nights. And then there is also in our charter, or in our bylaws rather, a special town meeting for the fall. That is scheduled typically for the 4th Monday in October. But in recent years, that date has been flexible, and we've had it in December the last 2 years. Sometimes it could be earlier than that, later than that, but at least 2 town meetings, usually a year, one in May, one in the fall.
And we have 10 precincts, and then we have how many town meeting members? About 279?
Yes, that's right.
Does that sound right?
Yep.
So, and every year in April, we have elections,
Correct.
so we have staggered terms, so the select board is not brand new every year. Someone's
Right.
off, someone's on. Same with the planning board and same with the warrant committee, which is appointed. Those are appointees, though, correct?
Correct. The select board is elected, so 1 member is elected, will be elected this year, and then 2 in the next 2 years as they stagger through. The same goes for the planning board. The warrant committee is appointed by the town moderator.
What's the role of the town moderator? Can you get a little into that?
Sure. The moderator serves as the moderator or administrator of the town meeting, oversees it, manages the speakers, tries to keep the town meeting moving and focused on the issue at hand, and it deals with parliamentary procedure at the town meeting. Different communities use the town moderator differently. Oftentimes they appoint the warrant committee or the finance committee in that town, as is the case here, and the moderator appoints a number of other boards and committees, whether committees that are set up by town meeting or that are in our bylaws.
Oh, wow. So we recently obviously had the MBTA zoning act, and it went to a special election. But can we walk through exactly how that works? So the governor, Baker, signed this into law, 2 years ago, or prior to him leaving? I don't know the exact dates. And then do we get a letter sent to you? Does it start with you? What is the process of when the state wants us to implement an act or a law into our town?
This has been an interesting one to watch because it's a little unusual in the sense of how it has played out. But typically, if the legislature changes the laws, we'll be aware, we'll get notification, and we'll respond accordingly. It's not very often where legislation will come through that mandates zoning upon cities and towns, and in this case, it was approved back in early 2021. One element of what made this a longer process was that the law set out expectations for cities and towns, that cities and towns shall zone a certain way, and then deferred a lot of guidance and guidelines from there to a state agency, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. So they issued guidelines that cities and towns had to follow, which set the rhythm and the schedule for the town. So in this case, Milton was expected to have a zoning bylaw in place by the end of December 2023. They had issued draft guidelines that gave the town some information to use, and then issued final guidelines. Once the final guidelines were issued, planning board, town planner, select board started working on the zoning matter and trying to figure out how to comply, whether to comply, and where to set up potential districts in town. And that was a long process that ultimately went to town meeting.
So basically, right. So basically, when they had it to follow those, whatever they wanted implemented, the state, it was the select board and the planning board sort of working together, trying to figure it out. It wasn't one board versus the other. They're sort of doing their own pieces. Is that how that goes? Or...
So yeah, typically what you'd see is the board's working to reach an agreement on a project. In this case, boards felt differently.
Yeah.
So what happened here was the select board ended up putting forward a zoning article that went to town meeting. The planning board disagreed with with what that article would have done, and had the opportunity, whether before town meeting and then also at town meeting, to deliver a report with their recommendation, which was to refer it back and not approve it. Town meeting did vote on it, and as we all know, there was a referendum put forward by voters to put it on a ballot for an election.
And how does that work? So you have a couple of residents who disagree with that. How does that work?
Well, it goes back to the form of government that Milton has. We have a representative town meeting, And a lot of other towns, if you don't have a representative town meeting, have an open town meeting, which means that any member, registered voter in the community can show up and vote at town meeting. Since Milton has representative, we have a provision in our charter that allows for actions taken by the town meeting to be put forward to the voters as essentially serving in lieu of an open town meeting. So in this case, voters submitted signed petitions of more than 5% of the number of registered voters in town, which triggered an election to put the question to the voters, to give everybody in town the opportunity to weigh in on it. And it's something that has happened very rarely in Milton's history. The last one occurred in, I think, 1973, so almost 50 years to the year since the last one had happened. But ironically enough, and the same procedure had been playing out in the town of Plymouth at the same time that we were moving forward. Their town meeting had voted to ban the selling of the little alcohol bottles, nips.
Oh, yep.
And that issue was contentious, and it was actually put to the voters as well, almost at the same time that we were doing the same process here in Milton, both representative town meetings and both having the same election process playing out.
So now you've been busy with this, and now you have the elections coming up in April. So you're just piling through, just trying to get everything done.
Right. For our office, the elections don't affect us as much. It
town
changes the select board, but the town clerk's office has been very busy. They had the special election on February 13th, 14th.
Right.
Then the presidential primary is Tuesday, March 5th. So they've been very busy with that. That has early voting in person. They both have vote by mail. Then we have the annual town election the last Tuesday in April.
Yep.
So they have quite a busy spring ahead of them.
Yes, they do. Yes. So that's great. So, I just thought I'd ask how many phone calls you get, like, probably in a day? Because when I was in there, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk to him today.
It depends.
Yeah.
Some days the phone can ring, and other days it's a little bit quieter. We try to get stuff done on those days. But when things go on in town, we like to be aware of and try to address the issues as they arise.
Yeah. And how many meetings do you probably attend? How many select board meetings and planning board meetings? And how many do you have, like, a week or a month? Just have to...
So the select board meets regularly twice a month. We'll sometimes have other meetings that come up that are outside of the normal routine. Those are on Tuesday nights. I won't necessarily attend planning board meetings. The town planner does, and other staff from the planning department. Warrant committee meetings, depending on what they're discussing, I'll attend. And then there are other boards and committees that if they need our input or need staff support, that myself or other staff in town hall will attend. So it's busy, one a week typically, sometimes more.
Yeah.
Evening meetings.
What are some of the most, like, do you have a lot of constituents, residents that come in asking you questions about what's going on in town? Do you get that a lot?
It comes and goes with kind of what's going on. You'll get the typical questions about potholes and streets and sidewalks, which we want to hear, we want to try to address.
Yep.
But then as bigger issues arise, such as the MBTA communities, the town budget, we'll have folks who reaching out with curiosity, want to learn more as they think about what they want to do in terms of voting and the actions that they want to take.
So what do you think there's things about town government that people don't know about Milton? Do you think there's anything that I know that I just found out you have a Facebook page. I didn't even know Town of Milton had a Facebook page.
Well, then we're not doing a good job using it.
I just didn't know. I think the special election triggered people finding out about it. So, it had some positives to it.
I think the most important thing I would say is grab our Facebook page, our Twitter account, if you're still on Twitter or X, whatever it's called these days. But you can sign up for announcements through the town website. It's a really useful tool, so you can sign up for general news and announcements. But if you're interested in certain boards or committees, you can sign up to receive alerts. So for the select board, you can sign up through the town website to receive an alert every time an agenda is posted for that board. So if you want to stay up to date on what the select board is doing, the planning board, warrant committee, or whatever the board or committee is, you can do that and get those email alerts right into your email inbox. You can get text messages about it so that you'll get the agenda as soon as the town clerk posts it. And that's right on our homepage. It's usually right at the center of our page, and you can sign up for news and announcements right there. And it's a really useful tool.
Oh, that's
so I
great.
encourage folks to sign up
And
for
there's
that.
a lot of open volunteer opportunities
Correct.
on different boards.
Right.
I know the Housing Authority has some open, I think it has one. Is it the Housing Authority?
Yeah, so openings will come in waves depending on
Yeah.
when folks step down from their terms or end up not resigning for any number of reasons. But we maintain an active list of boards and committees that are seeking members on our website. If you're interested, feel free to fill out one of our applications, submit it to us. If you're interested but you're not quite sure what the right fit is, fill out an application form, send it in to us, reach out to us, and we'll talk to you about what's open, what might be a good fit.
Oh, great.
And we need those volunteers to help us staff our boards and committees and keep them moving forward.
I see. I didn't know that. Like, I thought you would have to send it in with a particular idea, like, okay, I want to be on the Housing Authority, I want to be on the Fire Station Building Committee. So you may just say, I don't know what to do, but I want to volunteer my time and
Correct.
work that way, and you can meet with them and sort of see
That
which
is- yeah.
direction. That's great to know. That's really great to know. So now we're going to ask you some fun questions. You got it?
Yes, sure.
So let me see if I can find my questions. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Favorite snack that's in your drawer at work? Where is it? And what is it?
It's boring. Protein bars are really all I
Protein
have. Yeah. That's it.
funny.
Every once in a while I'll bring in cookies or somebody in town hall will have them. So that is a rare occasion, but I
Yeah.
have nothing exciting
Nothing
to
saying.
report.
So if anyone wants to bring the town administrator some protein bars, there you go. What's your favorite band or music? Nothing.
It's well, it's funny. We have I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and
Aw.
so there's a lot of kids' music on in the house.
Oh, yeah?
My son, the older son Ryan, he's really into rock and roll, punk rock, AC/DC.
No, easy.
Yeah, it's fun. I listen to a lot of punk. I just went to a show, Military Gun, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's nice.
At Rancid, Bouncing Souls. So that's
I have
more.
no idea what
I
it
know.
is. I'm the 70s Bee
Yeah.
Gees girl.
I saw
So-
Springsteen early this year, so
I
that
saw
dad
him.
rock.
He's from New Jersey, where I'm from,
Okay.
and I actually saw him before he became famous at the North Brunswick pub.
There you go.
I wasn't supposed to be there, but
Good for you.
my
That'd be
parents
cool.
didn't know. Now they do. So, and I always ask people, if you can travel back in time, where would you go and why?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Boston through the history.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just see how the city has changed. I grew up in the city. We're still there. I grew up in Rosendale, West Roxbury now. So I think to travel back to some interesting part of time to see how the city has changed since then.
Oh, that's a great one. I don't think a lot of people would choose that, and that's really interesting. That's great. And you get to choose the next topic.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
So the topics are the Milton Trolley.
Okay.
You've got the library or meet the town clerk. 'Cause I thought maybe because the elections are going on that maybe that would be maybe it would be time for her to discuss her role and what. But you get to choose.
I think Sue Galvin is a great guest to
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
But meet the town clerk might be a nice opportunity.
Someone
for
might want to give her a
about.
heads up on this show that she's coming on.
Yeah, you might have to wait till after the elections, in which
I
case
know.
you could choose one of the other ones.
I know. So is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to discuss? There's if there's a question that you would like to bring up and talk about that people don't ask you. Is there anything there?
No, I would just say, I have an open door policy in town hall. If you're interested in what's going on, you're not sure what's going on, feel free to give us a call, stop by. Happy to sit and chat with anybody about things happening in Milton.
And that's very true because you were very approachable when I went up to talk with you. I waited outside maybe a few minutes. I know you were fielding, like I say, keep saying fielding phone calls because you were. But you came right out. You didn't have me, say call me back, schedule an appointment. So
Sure.
you were extremely approachable, and I'm very grateful for you being my first guest
No,
on the
of
show.
course.
And
We used to have
it was fun.
a wall in the town hall in our office that if I looked out from my desk, I couldn't see what was going on. And,
Oh, wow.
and that was one of the first things we wanted to change because we wanted to create a little bit more access, a little more eyesight into myself and so folks knew that we were there and available to assist anything.
That's really great. That's a great thing to do. And I think probably residents probably don't even know, but now that they know, they probably appreciate it. So, well, thank you so much for being my first guest. Sue Galvin, you're next. So get ready. And I'll thank you for watching It's All Local.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Of course.
Appreciate it.